There we go.
All right, welcome everybody to C&J REIG. I am Scott Ford, your host.
Oh, and Tabitha Forge, the other host.
And today we have with us 0% interest. They happen to be one of our vendors, but we wanted to provide an introduction to them and what they offer and the opportunities to provide to not just our members, but everybody out there in the given world. We have Drexler and Christian on the call with us today. So welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having us, guys. How are you guys doing today?
We're our busy, crazy, busy selves.
Awesome.
We're doing, other than that, we're great. We're just, doing our businesses. We have multiple businesses, so we get busy with things, phone calls, meetings, Zoom calls, events, podcasts, all kinds of stuff. So,
Amazing. Amazing.
we wanted to have you guys on because you're new to the group. So a lot of people don't understand who you are, what you do, which I'm still learning myself. So that's why I wanted to have you come on and first of all, we want to get a brief introduction of each one of you, who you are, a little bit of a background. So we can start with Drexler.
Yeah, so I guess where should I start? So yeah, I guess we'll start where I was prior to starting the business. So I was married and I was working. I had a 1.5-year-old, and I was working in Manhattan for a Series G fintech company, and I had a 1.5-hour commute door to door each way, and I had to do that 3 times a week. And it got really painful to the point where my wife, who wasn't working at that time, wasn't bringing in any income, and my company was screwing me on commissions. So I was getting screwed on commissions, so not making money. I had a long commute. I was missing my daughter's basically best years of life. And Christian and I were college buddies, and we had a business that we had started, but then, we went our own ways. 6 years later, at this time, when I was going through all the struggle, we reconnected, and he was working as a fractional CMO at a lending company, and he was basically figuring out how to get leads that wanted money. And I was really good at sales. So we had the idea of, why not just combine the sales and marketing and create a brokerage that will help business owners get access to funding. So that's how we got started in the space. That was in March of 2023. We started out doing merchant cash advances. They're like 6-month term loans that have some stupid high interest rates, like 80 to 100%, daily, weekly payments, right? It's not good for mainly like 90% of businesses. There's 10% of businesses out there that it's a good fit for. But we found that out quickly. We were killing businesses as we were, brokering these deals out. And we didn't feel great about that, even though the commissions were great. So then we changed our model. We found this product called, personal credit card stacking. And we were like, okay, well, let's figure out how to do that. And we basically started doing that for clients, but the amounts were super low. They weren't getting any high like amounts. And at this time now this is like a year into the business, year and a half into the business. We have few contractors working in the Philippines. We're running ads. We're paying ourselves off of the money that we're earning. And all of a sudden we looked at our personal credit accounts and our cash accounts, and we were like, we're broke. So we're like, what?
I know a lot of people that probably can relate to that one.
Yeah. So we were like, what the hell do we do now? So we had a bunch of options, but Christian at that time had a good relationship with Chase because he'd been doing business with them for a while. So he went to Chase, I went to Bank of America, we went to like Goldman Sachs and a few other places. And long story short, we found this product. It's basically business credit cards. That's what it is at the end of the day. But it's 0% interest for usually a certain time period, usually 12 to 18 months. And there's high limits on these cards. So for example, both of us combined were able to secure just above $300,000 in business credit, a lot of that being 0% in that time period. And that helped us get cash to now put into the business and make cash on that line of credit. So from there, we just wrap this up, tie it up. We were doing this 0% product for everyone. So we had a funeral home come to us, we had trucking people, we had rental investors and real estate investors, but the approvals were all over the place. So we were like, wait, what's going on? Why are these approvals all over the place? Some people were getting approved for 50K, other people were getting approved for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the trend was that the low risk businesses, the ones that classified as low risk, what we found was property managers. They were classified as low risk according to these banks. They were getting the highest approval. So we said, oh my goodness, property managers are getting the highest approvals. We're working with a lot of short-term rental, midterm rental, long-term rental people that need money for gap funding, for, renovations, for earnest money deposits, down payments. We were like, this is a great fit. So we went all in on that. We rebranded to 0% investor. And yeah, I mean, it's been going great. It's been going great since. So right now what we're doing is very simple. Rental investors need access to capital to either secure a new property or furnish their new property or renovate their new property. And we can help them in those things, usually at 0% interest for the first 9 to 18 months on that money. And that's all we do. I do that full time. Christian does that full time. And it's been a good run. It's been a good run so far.
So being that Drexler explained a lot.
Yeah.
Christian, let's hear about you.
Yeah, so I'll give a brief background on myself, and it definitely ties. He covered a lot of what I was about to say, but I started in the small business lending space in 2017. Drexel and I actually had a marketing company in 2016 that ultimately failed, and I continued trying marketing, and I stumbled on a great niche, which was small business lending. My client, Total Merchant Resources at the time, they got really good publicity, got featured on Shark Tank, got a deal with Kevin O'Leary, and we were able to do the marketing for them. And that rolled into another business lender coming through and another business lending client. And at that point, I was working with a bunch of different small business lenders, helping them do their marketing. And we helped hundreds of small businesses across the US secure capital. We had different financial tools that we used: SBA loans, equipment financing, merchant cash advances, unsecured business lines of credit. And so I got to see all these different financial products at work across these multiple different industries. And like Drexel said, it was great cash. It was great commissions, but ultimately it wasn't really serving the small business, the entrepreneur and investor that we were ultimately looking to build a long-term relationship with, or partnership. And so that, over the series of years, realized like, this is not sustainable. Let's dial it back. Let's dial it in. Let's focus on one niche and one financial product. And we decided, based on the data, based who we were able to help out best, rental investors, helping them get access to unsecured business lines of credit. So that's basically how the story goes. And the other thing that I want to mention is that it's great for rental investors who are working full time and they're looking to get started. And it's great to have the accessibility to the capital. A lot of times these deals come quick, and if they don't have access to the capital to make a jump on it, like right when the deal's available, they're ultimately going to lose to the next buyer, the next investor out there. So
Right.
it's really smart and advantageous to have access to the capital, and that's exactly what we do.
So I heard the words that you said something about Kevin O'Leary. So how did that happen with Shark Tank?
Yeah,
How did that come about?
It was just the right place at the right time type of thing. This merchant cash advance product, this financial product, was very new and upcoming and trendy in the market. So they just got a deal. They just got featured on Shark Tank, and it just worked out for them. Unfortunately, behind the scenes, this is what people don't see on the TV show. They didn't actually work out the deal, but they got the handshake on camera, and we used that to market their business, and they did really well with that.
Cool.
Branding.
That's cool. Branding, yeah.
Yeah, it's a type of branding for a person
Do
to.
you have that picture?
Yeah, they definitely have that picture still. Yeah.
Oh, you don't have it though.
It's somewhere. It's somewhere on the internet.
Should be using it. Should be using it.
Yeah.
Use it towards your branding.
Yep, that's a good point.
So with the 0% investor, it's based on an LLC or the person's personal information? How does that work?
Yeah, good. You want me to take that?
Yeah, sure.
Good question. So what we look for is, well, first off, to answer your question, Scott, a person needs minimum an LLC and they need a 680 plus credit score. The banks will look at those two things, make sure that the business is low risk. Well, we do that for them too, by the way, making sure that the NAICS code is up to date, it's low risk, making sure that the personal credit is looking low risk, right? And we can go into what that means. But as long as those two things are there, we take that and then we introduce them to our relationships managers at our banks.
Okay,
So it is with personal credit has to, comes,
personal backing it.
yeah, comes into factor.
Okay, how long does the LLC have to be established before, they should apply?
So I had a gentleman, or we had a gentleman sign up, I think it was like this November or December. His name's Mike. He works for the Pentagon yeah, he works for the Pentagon. He has like 5 kids. He doesn't have time. He wants to do Airbnb arbitrage, and he was like, I need lines of credit. I saw that you guys can help with that. So can you help me? And I said, yeah, sure. We signed him up. He paid us, and then he was like, I don't have an LLC. I said, oh, we never experienced that before. So we were like freaking out. We were like, oh no, he doesn't have an LLC. Is this going to be an issue? And we went to our bankers and they said, it doesn't matter. Just go to the Secretary of State, create the LLC, get the EIN immediately,
Sure.
right afterwards, and then have him, we'll teach him how to open up the bank and everything. So to answer your question, like the age of that business was 2 days, maybe 3 days. Obviously longer
Okay.
business history helps. So if you have 2 years plus in business history, it's it's something we can stack in the favor for approvals, but it's not like a necessary thing. And by the way, he got approved for, mind you, he had 750 plus credit score. He had almost 40 to $50,000 in revolving limits. He got approved for $168,000 at 0%.
Nice,
That's not bad.
nice.
Yeah, the benefit to this program is that, you don't need an LLC set up. We can help you do that if you don't have one set up. And you don't need business revenues to qualify for this program either.
right.
A lot of the times, the rental investors that come to us, they're making, a few $100 in monthly rents or a few thousand. And that's not going to qualify for any revenue-based financing. And so they come to us and they're able to get approved for $150,000, $168,000 in funding by leveraging their personal credit instead of their business.
Okay. So with this business credit you guys are talking about, this is going to be the big question. I know a lot of people are going to be listening for this part is this credit based on credit cards or is it lines of credit or some other kind of source?
Yeah, good question. So we do both, right? So we're working with a company right now. They do about $2 million. They're like a chimney cleaning company. We got referred to them. They do like $2 million a year and they want a traditional business line of credit. So we introduced them to our Chase relationship manager, and Chase is the biggest one that we have for traditional business lines of credit that can be used as cash. And they'll qualify, right? Because they meet the minimums for that. So to answer your question, Scott, there's a minimum that we look for when someone wants to use a line of credit as cash. And that minimum is 2 things, 400K a year in business revenues and at least 2 years in business.
Okay.
As long as they have those 2 things, they can qualify for the upper echelon, which is a business line of credit used as cash. If they don't have that, we can't give them something that they can't qualify for. So the only thing they can qualify for is a business lines of credit on credit cards, right? But the reason I'm guessing you're asking that is because most people want to use those credit cards as cash, right? They don't want to just use it as
Right.
cards, right? And there's ways around that as well. Obviously, that's one of our biggest things that people ask us, and we wouldn't be in business if we didn't know how to solve that. Yeah.
So minimum 400 they have to be making a year?
Yep.
Okay.
For a period of 2 years.
The reason I was asking is I know a company that wants to buy a warehouse, but they're not at the 400 yet
They're
until
200.
they do the roll up, then they'll be over that.
All right,
Okay.
so being that said, the 0% interest I guess it's mostly based on the credit cards. That'll give them 0% interest for a year, maybe a year to 18 months before it'll kick into a credit card interest rate at that point.
Correct.
So what benefits can real estate investors and landlords get from working with you over going to a different lending source?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say there's pros and cons to each type of financial tool. So it's not like a one size fits all. I don't want to, I'm impartial to this business because this is the business that we're in, but investor, you should look at all the options that you have at your disposal. Go to your banks, go to your credit unions, interview hard money lenders as well, and take that into account. Our product specializes in, I guess the main benefit is the 0% interest for up to that 18-month period. They can also, it's really easy to get approved as long as they have the credit profile in place. We guarantee getting 100,000, at least 100,000 business lines of credit with our program. And we do that because we have a very strict guidelines and a very strict credit analysis process that we go through. And we don't take on, just anybody as a client. So those are just two top benefits, I would say. The guarantee, as well as the speed and accessibility, as well as the 0% interest.
Okay.
I like the fact that you're not just, oh, you got to work with me, you're like, hey, go check everybody out.
Like,
Yeah.
look at other sources.
That's what I would
and,
do.
What's best for you.
Then I know you're coming back.
Yeah, it's not a good fit for everybody. I was just writing down some things, so I can share a few stories as to like the type of people that come to us, right? That are real estate investors. So for example, we had a gentleman that came to us. He got a after repair value loan on his property, but that didn't cover the full repairs. So he needs gap funding, but he didn't want to use his cash, right? So he came to us and we were able to get him another 60K. He probably only used 30 of it for, paying his contractors and material, right? They accepted card. But if he didn't have us, he couldn't get access to that gap funding, right? And this isn't a loan, mind you, right? So let's say he went and flipped that property. Now he could pay that credit card off and use it again. Or let's say he didn't pay that credit card off, or anyways, I don't want to confuse you guys too much. So that was one example. Others will use it, like I said, for contractors that accept credit cards, obviously for material, there are specific scenarios where we've had people use it as earnest money deposits and down payments. So we had a company come to us, or a gentleman come to us, and he was like, yeah, my title company accepts credit card, right? Or they accept ACH, transfers. So what he did was he got the credit cards and he plugged it into a tool called Plastique. I don't know if you guys have heard of that before.
Okay.
So he plugged it into Plastique and then he basically sent an ACH transfer over to the title company, but he used his credit card for it, right? And so those are some of the use cases. I mean, for if they're a short-term rental investor, by the way, all day they can use this for furnishing their property, for renovating their property, for paying any virtual assistants that they're using, for any software licenses, et cetera. So those are some of the use cases.
Yeah, and those are two good stories about like success stories, and I have one more story to tell about kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum where it doesn't go so well. Hello, Derek. You have a.
So I'm going to kick you out, Derek. Hold on, we're not done yet.
We'll be right with you.
Yeah, we'll kick you back in a minute. Well, all right.
Yeah. So yeah, there's this woman, I think I met her at your event or maybe one of these other real estate events in New Jersey. She was in the middle of a fix and flip, and immediately as I walked up to her, I noticed that there was something terribly, terribly wrong. She was really frustrated and she was just telling me her story about what had happened. She was $80,000 or $90,000 in debt, using her personal credit cards to do all the rehab and construction. And it was still in progress. She still didn't make too much progress. She was still not able to flip the place. And she was dealing with, I think, 25% interest on her personal credit cards. And just, talking to her, I was just like, man, if only I talked to this woman before she had put all that money onto her personal credit cards. Like, yeah, and so, you know, we weren't able to help her out in that situation. She was already too invested using her personal credit cards, but those are the types of people that we're looking to help before that gets to that point. So that they can leverage their personal credit to use business credit cards, have 0% interest for up to 18 months, and build their business credit at the same time. So yeah.
Can I add one more thing to
Yeah,
that?
go for it now.
So the other issue with that too is if she goes and tries to find other sorts of funding, the first thing lenders are going to look at is her personal credit.
Mm,
And if they see that she's overutilized on unsecured lines of credit, like if that was a bad deal and she can't get out of that, she's probably going to be in that for the next few years, right? So if you're listening to this, like really ask yourself, like, do you have the certain, because here's the other thing. With business lines of credit, you can utilize that 100% and it does not show up on your personal. It does not hit your personal, right? So imagine if this individual, like you were saying, ended up, the reason why Chris was saying, I wish she used business was because if she used that 100K or 80K, whatever it was on her business, that would not have shown on her personal, right? The utilization would not affect her personal credit. So now to other lenders, it looks like she's not doing anything.
yeah.
Like, yeah, we can lend to her, you know? So
Just another reason to utilize the business credit cards first before going to personal or
yeah.
otherwise.
Right, that's where people make the
Ah.
mistake. They go for their personal first, then business second, and by the time they do that, their personal's almost up, so it's harder.
So how does that work though? Or just if you could do it really quick, how does that work if you're using a personal credit in order to get the business loan? How does it not affect the personal credit?
So yeah, this is not a business loan. This is a business line of credit on credit cards.
Right.
And banks underwrite the file based off of the individual's personal credit. It's personally guaranteed. But like we have, I wish my stack is over there, but I have this stack of business credit cards, right? It's around $200,000. I could utilize that 100%, but it does not affect my personal credit, right? So
Okay,
I qualified for it using my personal, but it doesn't affect my personal credit. The only time it does is if that goes into collections
Mm.
or if it goes into, bankruptcy or whatever, right?
okay,
Then it would hit my personal. But even if I
Gotcha.
have a late payment on it, it does not hit my personal,
Yeah.
right? So it's completely separate. There's this misunderstanding about business credit where, it can affect the personal. Not only are you getting higher limits and you're guaranteeing it based off of your personal credit, but it literally does not affect your credit unless you just don't pay your bills.
okay.
All right, so to wrap up, is there
I was
something
gonna
else?
ask one last, how long does it take to approve and get the funding?
30, 60 days.
Okay,
60 days, okay.
not bad. That's pretty
Nope.
quick.
All right, so to wrap up, because I know we're at the end of time, we saw Derek pop in, he's our next interview. Besides the cnjreig.com website and the cnjreig meetings, monthly meetings and events, where can people find you guys at 0% Investor?
Yeah, very simple. 0%investor.com. Straightforward, just like you see on Chris's. Just type that in with the .com at the end, and you'll find us there. There's an intake form you can fill out there to see if you qualify. And I think do they have a link, an affiliate link?
There should be a link on
Yeah.
the C&J website to go over to 0% Investor as well.
Yeah, in the vendor section on the cnjreig.com website, you click on it and it'll take you to the website there.
So that
So-
will be on the emails, it will be
Yep.
on the Facebook pages,
Do a lot of marketing.
on the Instagrams. So you can
Or
find
just
these
come by.
everywhere.
Or just come by to our office. We're in North Brunswick,
Yes.
so we're close, Central Jersey. So yeah, we're personable. We'll go out to lunch or grab a coffee or whatever. So yeah.
Right, and you guys are in Central Jersey, you're not out of state, just marketing in Central Jersey, so that's one of the benefits. People can actually sit down and have coffee, come to your office and sit down and do what they need to do with you guys, so that's good. You're personal. That's what I call it, personal touch, because you're local. Awesome, so we appreciate you guys jumping on. Sorry we don't have more time for you. Maybe we'll do a second round later on in the year.
Absolutely.
But we appreciate it definitely, and we'll get the video up, and of course, we're always marketing you guys, and we look forward to getting our investors and learning more about you and working with you guys in the future, Mark.
Don't forget, come and meet them in person. You can come
Yep.
to our group. We're the last Wednesday every month. Put it on your calendar. Miller's Ale House in Woodbridge. One of
6:30
them
p.m.
would better be there.
All right. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you jumping on and have a great rest of your day. We'll
Yeah,
talk to you
thank you for
soon.
having us.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.